Jewish leadership is one of those phrases that you probably don't need, because to be a Jew is to lead. That's what we're called on to do in life. And if you look at the last century or two, Jews have in fact led in one field after another. It's very hard to find one where they haven't, whether in Einstein in physics, or Levi-Strauss in anthropology, or Durkheim in sociology, or Freud in psychoanalysis, or Viktor Frankl and Aaron Beck and Marty Seligman in psychotherapy, or classical music, Mahler and Schoenberg, classic musical music, George Gershwin and Irving Berlin, all the way down to Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan, and that's as far as I'm prepared to go, given my extreme old age. And you name it, we've pioneered, because to be a Jew is to be out there in front. We are, I think, the pioneers of the human spirit. So what is it that makes Jewish leadership Jewish as opposed to just any other kind of leadership? I think a number of things. Number one, first and foremost, Jewish leadership is vision-driven. It was a vision of leading a people from slavery to freedom that Moses encountered at the burning bush. It was a vision of Jerusalem as the center of the Jewish state and as the home of the temple that inspired King David to his greatest achievements. And of course, the prophets were the great visionaries of all time. Amos, Hosea, Isaiah, Jeremiah, those people burning with a passion for social justice, the world's first social critics. Number two, Jewish leadership has to be service. In Judaism, it is the leader who serves the people, not the people who serve the leader. That's why the Torah calls Moses the most humble of men. In fact, you can actually see this symbolically. If you look at Mesopotamian ziggurats and Egyptian pyramids, they're broad at the base and narrow at the top, representing a hierarchical society with one person, the king or the pharaoh, at the top. Whereas the Jewish symbol, the menorah, is exactly the opposite. It's broad at the top, narrow at the bottom, because at the bottom there is the leader serving and supporting the people. So I think you've got to realize that in Judaism, leadership is not an ego trip. In fact, if you have an ego when you begin, you will have, if you'll forgive the pun, a scrambled ego by the time you end. So be aware, it's got to be done in humility and as service. Number three, Jewish leadership is empowering. It really is bringing other people along with you. You know, we say the Lord is my shepherd, but no Jew was ever a sheep. Don't tell the Jewish people where to go, because they're not going to listen to you. And that means you have to empower them. Moses, through the hand of God, did miracle after miracle after miracle for the Jewish people, bringing them out of Egypt. And each time the people just complained and rebelled. It was when he empowered them. He said, help build a home for God, help build a sanctuary. It was then they stopped arguing and started cohering as a people. So you have to empower people. Number four, it seems to me that Judaism is pretty unique among world faiths, because most other religions in the world, then and now, are essentially religions of acceptance, of consolation, of putting up with the way things are. Whereas Judaism has always been a religion of protest. We have always been conscious of the gap between the world that is and the world that ought to be. That's why you find Jews, out of all proportion to our numbers, as doctors fighting disease, or economists and businessmen fighting poverty, or lawyers fighting injustice, or academics and teachers fighting ignorance, or therapists fighting depression and despair. To be a Jewish leader means to change the world because you feel that the world is not as it should be. And number five, a Jewish leader has to be an agent of hope. Even the most pessimistic of prophets, Jeremiah, was a prophet of hope. I once said, Greeks gave the world tragedy and Jews gave the world hope. I think we are the voice of hope in the conversation of humankind. We've survived the worst that anyone could throw at us. We've built in the land of Israel, in the state of Israel, one of the great countries of the modern world, a country that has faced difficulties in every direction and somehow surmounted them all and continues to pioneer and celebrate life. So go out there and lead. Go out there and lead as Jews, because the world right now needs our values. We need to show that you can have strong religious faith and yet not be a fanatic. The world needs to know that a religion can be very self-confident and yet not try to convert or conquer the world. We never tried to convert anyone. Anyone who wants to convert, you're welcome, but we never tried to dominate anyone else. So one way or another, the world needs a Jewish presence right now. And that is the challenge you face, and you're going to meet it with great distinction. I also think you will meet it with a great sense of fulfillment as well. Because leadership is not only important because of what we achieve through it, it's important because of what we become by exercising it. Lifting others, we find that we ourselves are lifted. So go out there and lead. And please take my blessing with you, because you're very special people. And I salute you now, and even more for what you're going to do to change the world for the better in the years to come. Thank you.